Something that's been coming up a lot since Capcom Cup was over is that Uma won Capcom Cup. Uma's a beast. Congrats to Uma. There he is with his trophy. Boom, $1 million. This is really cool, right? But something I'm reading a lot, and people are talking about the format of Capcom Cup, which I've talked about many times. This tweet, I won't say where it's from because I don't want people to go be mean to this person. But there's a tweet that says, the fact that the Capcom Cup champion is an unsponsored player who couldn't qualify if the point system exists due to not having the money to travel shows how important it is to create an environment where opportunities are most important that keep the elite in a safe place. So basically saying all these elite players want it to be offline only. They will qualify by having the money to travel, and everybody else won't. Someone like Uma couldn't have made it in another format because of this. First of all, Uma did travel. Uma was 25th at Evolution this year. Like he went to the other offline qualifiers. Part of because like one of them is in Singapore. That really helps, right? You can just look. It was something that we talked about because as you guys may know, I commentated ICFC on this channel. ICFC is a tournament series that happened all year long in Asia, North America, and Europe. The Asia champion for basically like all the weeks was Uma. He also traveled to these tournaments, so he could have qualified at Evo. Like in 25th place, tied with Masoma, Julio Fuentes, Diaphone, Sonic Fox. Damn, this is actually a beast lineup of player. Is Uma? Look, Uma's right here. Look at this. Lost to Punk and lost to Machabo. Beat Bonchen though. And Joe Rogan, what the heck? What a bracket run. But an important thing to understand is that Uma is not like some unknown player. Maybe he's unknown to you because what's happening is if you read online, the rhetoric is some unknown guy you've never heard of won, and this is why the format should be this way and really give a chance and blah, blah, which I agree with. I think that you should have qualifiers for people all over the world because not everybody can travel, right? My point is I also want offline qualifiers to be a big factor in the tour, a bigger factor than they are now because there's so few. Players from certain parts of the world, like Asia, are really, really good at the game, and there's a really dense field of players. Let's look at, to start, the top 16 of Capcom Cup. There's Uma. He won. He beat Chris Wong. He beat him in winners finals. He beat him in grand finals. Third place, right? We got Gotchkun down here. And in fact, if you look at the people who qualified for top 8 of this, it's Chris Wong from Hong Kong versus DCQ of China, and then Uma from Taiwan versus Lashar of Korea, right? These are familiar names. You guys see these guys. Then in loser side, top 8, it's Kawano, Japanese qualifier, up against NL, who qualified from a place we'll talk about in a second. He's from Korea. You look in the losers, Gotchkun, he's a Japanese qualifier who qualified by winning the Singapore event against who in the grand finals? Chris Wong. And how did Chris Wong qualify? He lost both of his regional qualifiers, lost to Gotchkun in Singapore. Then he had to go all the way to France, and he won in France to qualify in. Wow, his region must be really tough. We'll look at his region in a second. And then Safe, who made it in, which was awesome. I'm happy for Safe. I'm a big Safe believer. His group was really hard. You know who made it out of his group in winners? Uma. So how did Uma get to Capcom Cup? If you read all the responses on social media, it sounds like he made it in from like a little unknown place in his region. Like, you know, he snuck in and then he made it to Capcom Cup and he won his million. So who did he have to play in his region? Asia East, right? This is the ranking leaderboards. Chris Wong had the most points in his region. Then it was Uma. Then ZJZ, who you guys know of KOF fame, also Capcom Cup qualified player before via the LCQ. Oil King, Mickey Gutsbloom, Hot Dog, and Damon. And then this got a little weird in the actual qualifier who was there. Players you may be familiar with, like GamerBee didn't make it, Rain Pro, Human Bomb, right? There's a lot of players in here who are very famous players. So let's look at how he won. He won, Uma, by beating Chris Wong in the finals of his region. Looks familiar. Wow, these players are pretty consistent, huh? ZJZ third, Hot Dog fourth, Oil King, and then it goes on. Incredibly hard region. These players have made it into Capcom Cup before. They're extremely good players. And yeah, because their region is so hard, because they have these two, literally the finalists from Capcom Cup in grand finals of their tournament, they didn't get to make it into Capcom Cup because their region is so fucking hard. But then you ask yourself, like, wait a minute, all right? He made it in here, but like, what was the bracket like for his online qualifier, right? Because that was the World Warrior qualifier. The bracket for Asia East. Winners semis. Lashar versus Hot Dog. Chris Wong versus Uma. Wow, what a bracket. Very interesting. In losers bracket, Oil King, NL, Korean Wrestling Man, also a very well-known player. Loser side here, NL versus Hot Dog, Uma versus Korean Wrestling Man. NL versus Uma was loser semis. Uma lost there. Lashar, NL, Uma, and Chris Wong are the 4 players in this region. Wow, that's a pretty tough region to try to qualify into. In fact, it's so tough that Chris Wong, the person who got second place at Capcom Cup, couldn't qualify in his own region. You understand this? His region, the guy that got second place at Capcom Cup, was too hard for him to qualify into. There's too many good players. If you look at the Capcom Cup finals, they're all there. To qualify, Chris Wong had to go to Singapore, where he lost to Gotchkun, because Gotchkun had to go qualify there because the Japan qualifiers are really hard. So Gotchkun makes it in there. So it takes him not his own regional qualifier, not his own regional World Warrior, not the first offline event at EVO, not the second offline event at Singapore, but France. He had to go all the way to France to qualify, and Chris Wong won there. So when you look at who wins Capcom Cup and you look at this grand finals, I don't see an unknown, unsponsored player
you're a Sajam fan
come
now?
up and like win the event. What I look at is Uma fought tooth and fucking nail in one of the hardest regions in the world just to qualify, and then had to fight those same exact people who had to fight tooth and nail to qualify and make it into the tour by the skin of their teeth, Chris Wong flying all over the planet and shit, to then fight the same people in grand finals of the tournament. Now, I'm not telling you I knew Uma was going to win Capcom Cup or Chris Wong or any of these other people, right? But the way people talk about him now is that he's like some unknown player, and like him winning is like, whoa, like we gifted his region a spot in Capcom Cup and he did it. When the reality is he earned it by qualifying in a really difficult region. And it's the same thing with like Lashar. Like if you don't know who Lashar is, you don't know who Uma is, you don't know who Chris Wong is, etc. If you look at the way they qualified, it should tell you that they're really good players. If you look at the commentator predictions for Group G, I picked Safe and Uma. Yeah, I'm familiar with both of their games. They're both really good players. I'm not surprised both of them did well. Anyway, my point is not that everybody knew Uma would win, but just like that just shows you that that area is densely packed with really strong Street Fighter players. And more than just Uma, there's probably other players from that region that could have won $1 million. I hope there's more offline premieres so that people like him can participate in more qualifiers per that region. Because if you look at who won the offline quals, right? They're all really strong players, obviously, but they're all players from regions that are like pretty densely packed. It's gnarly for regions like that. You need the offline qualifiers so that the sponsored players who are able to travel, right, can go travel in these events and open up spots for their regions that are really difficult, because that's probably what's going to happen. Also, you can stick these offline qualifiers in regions where it's harder for them to travel. If it's really hard for people from like South America to travel, you can stick a premiere in South America. They used to do it all the time back in the day, right? Players from all over the world are there at the highest level, right? There's players from South America and North America and Asia and Africa, and like every place on the planet has elite level Street Fighter players, right? It's just how many of them exist in every region, right? I live in North America. There is more high level Street Fighter players in Asia than here, even if it is to say at the highest level, players from all over the world are really good. I don't want the qualifier spots from all over the world to go away. I think it's cool. I'm a fan. I got no problems with it. I just want more offline qualifiers so that offline people can go and do it. Because in this tour, what people say is like stuff like in that tweet, and I keep seeing it come up, which is that like the elite level players, they just want more spots for them, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, there's 3 spots for them and 44 for everybody else. That is not quite the right ratio of online to offline. Agreed? Think about it like this. If you're a professional Street Fighter player and you live in Japan, you are fucked when it comes to qualifying for Capcom Cup. If I was an org trying to get a Street Fighter player, I would look at the Capcom Cup format and be like, there's no reason to sign a Street Fighter player. Your odds of making it into the Capcom Cup, if you're a top level player in a really difficult region, is really bad, actually. Mena almost didn't qualify, and most people agree that he is one of the best players in the world, if not like top 5. Why would I want to sign him if his chances of getting to Capcom Cup is that bad? And then he draws Group F, and then he's in losers, and then he fights Fudo round 1. I'm looking at that like, ugh, this is what I get for signing a player all year, one of a top 5 player in the world. That's what happens to him. Now, that's not to say there's other things that can help you, like the ability to travel, stronger visa or passport so that you can go places, more money available to do stuff like this. Those are obviously factors. But it would be a factor if there was more offline competition, and there's not really in this format, right? 48 players is such an odd amount anyway. If they just make it so that there's 60 players, which is an enormous amount of players, I don't feel good for Capcom on that. That's too many players. But if they do something like that, then I think people would be happier. But honestly, if the number goes to like 10 offline premieres, I think most people would be happier. The cup would go for like 10 days. How long do you think the current one was? But that's the problem, right? That's our bigger issue. Anyway, I'm really sick of people parroting this storyline about Uma. Even though he's an incredible player, so many people, and someone said like, why are you mad about some random quote tweet? It's not just some random quote tweet. Lots of people who have a very big reach or their tweets have hit a lot of people have been saying the same kind of bullshit that's not true about it. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story. That's basically what's happening. And I'm like, no, let's use some facts here. Like you're saying, I want them to do more stuff locked in regions I haven't heard of and stuff. They're doing that. They have qualifiers all over the world, but people constantly want to take that away. Who's people? Can you look at my VOD and find me saying that or other people? Like who are people? Name 5 people who are real humans. Literally every person is like, it's cool you want to do it this way, but we need more spots offline. Right next door, you have a Tekken Tour that accomplishes a very similar idea and is all offline because they have like a regional leaderboard and the dojo system built into it and other ways to qualify. Like maybe most Street Fighter players don't pay attention to the Tekken Tour, but the Tekken Tour is doing the same thing where they're like, okay, cool, we're going to put events in all these places where it's hard for people to travel from and give you dojo events in your region so that you can get points without having to travel all over the world. Like they're trying to do that same kind of idea, right? To qualify for the new CPT, you must listen to JP's theme for 10 hours straight. I don't want to do that to anybody. That already happened to me. Yeah, also notice how all I've said the whole time is I'm down for people to qualify from all over the world. I just want more offline spots. And then you get comments like that, like you're trying to take these spots away from me. No one fucking listens to what you have to say at all. It's why none of you motherfuckers know who Uma is, because you don't listen to anybody. You just want a sensationalist story about how something cool happened. So fuck all y'all, and have a good day.